Welcome, everyone. My name is Sulma Arias. I am the Executive Director at People's Action, a national network of grassroots organizations with more than 1 million members in 38 states. And this is Care Over Cost. When insurance won't pay, we fight back. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos. If you want to follow in Spanish, use the link on your screen, Somos Más. Si prefiere escucharnos en español, por favor siga el link que dice Somos Más. Before we get to our exciting guest, including Senator Bernie Sanders, please take a moment with me to honor the land of our elders. My home is Wichita, Kansas, traditional land of the Osage, the Wichita, and the Sioux people. Please join me for a moment in honoring those who came before us to this land. Thank you, everyone. Now, if you would join me in telling us in the chat where you're coming from or where you're joining from tonight, and who you would like to honor. And if you are watching on Facebook or on Twitter, it is not too late to join us in this conversation. Follow the care link on your screen. I am so excited tonight to have this conversation because healthcare affects all of us. Every one of us has a right to care for ourselves, for our families. No one should ever have to choose between food, housing, and health, or live in fear that if you get sick or injured, that you will lose everything. Private health insurance companies take in billions in profit, but won't pay for the care, the medicine, the surgeries, and the doctor's visits that you need. At People's Action, we are in the midst of an organizing revival. And this campaign, Care Over Cost, is what it's all about, fighting to get you the care that you need when your private health insurance corporation says no. We are here to fight with you. And so tonight, we'll talk to Senator Bernie Sanders, and People's Action leaders all across the country about what we can do right now to fight back and to win. So please join me in welcoming our wonderful MCs, Ken Whitaker and Eliana Molise. Ken and Eliana, please take it away.
Thank you, Soma. So glad to be with you all tonight. I'm Ken Whitaker, he, him, his pronouns from Michigan United, and we're proud to be a part of the People's Action family. Here in Detroit, healthcare is a big concern. All the time I hear from our members that private health insurance corporations refuse to pay for the care that they need.
That's right, Ken. My name's Eliana, and I use she and her pronouns, and the same is true for us here in Chicago. That's why our members at One Northside have started building the Care Over Cost campaign with People's Action. Because when it comes to our health, we just won't take no for an answer.
Eliana, we live in the richest country in the world, the richest country in history of the world. But it sure doesn't feel like it, because we're the only rich country where you can lose everything if you or a loved one gets sick. And not because of the illness, but because of the bill. That ain't right.
No, it's not. But Ken, isn't health insurance meant to take care of our unexpected?
It is. But all too often, private insurance denies your claim. They refuse to pay for the care when you need it the most. Hundreds of millions of claims are denied every year, more than $260 billion in claims, Eliana.
Oof. But Ken, healthcare is something that everyone should have. How do these companies get away with denying us the care that we need?
These companies just don't get away with denying claims. Whistleblowers tell us they brag about it. That's how they make money. The more they refuse, the bigger their profits. So let's get real. These companies are in the business of denying care for profit, not providing it.
Ken, no one should have to live in fear because of their health, but that's exactly what these companies make us do. Claim denials affect every one of us, no matter what you look like or where you live. 1 out of every 7 claims is denied. And this especially affects Black and Brown people who are sold the worst insurance, and people in rural America, where you get fewer or no healthcare providers, or they're out of network, meaning you get stuck with the bill.
Out of network. Remember those ominous words. We'll hear more about that trick in a minute. But Eliana, what about the ACA, the Affordable Care Act? Wasn't that supposed to take care of these problems?
Well, the ACA made it easier for some people to get health insurance, but under the ACA, 1 of every 5 claims to a private insurer is denied. And some private companies in the ACA marketplace deny as many as 4 out of 5 claims. And this affects those of us who get Medicare or Medicaid coverage through a private insurance company too. Now, if that's you, I want you to go to careovercosts.org right now and complete our survey. If your private health insurance is stopping you from getting the care that you need or won't pay the bill, we might be able to help.
Eliana, hearing all this makes me mad as hell. I won't lie. No one should have to live like this. How do these companies get away with denying care?
Well, Ken, with health insurance, the wolf is guarding the hen house. These companies are playing the odds. They know that most people don't know you can appeal your claim. Less than 0.1% of people appeal claims when they're denied.
And that means more money in the bank for big insurance companies, more money for CEOs and Wall Street investors, and less care for you and me and those that we love. Now, what can we do about it?
Ken, we fight back, and we fight like hell. And that's exactly why we're here, because People's Action and Care Over Cost can help. If you've been denied the healthcare you need, our organizers and volunteers want to hear from you so that we can help you navigate the really complex process of appealing that denial. Once again, if you head over to careovercosts.org and fill out our survey to let us know if your private health insurance corporation is denying you care, we might be able to support you in your fight. And we're just getting started, but as you're about to hear, we're starting to win.
That's right. Now let's hear more about that. We're going to go right now to Michigan United's very own Rokeisha O'Neill, who will tell us how Care Over Cost helped her mother get medication she desperately needed after surgery. Welcome, Rokeisha.
Thanks, Ken. Thank you for the power of Michigan United and the power invite. On May of 2022, I got invited to a meeting that saved my mom's life. My mom had open heart surgery on February of 2022, and we didn't even know if she was going to make it. We didn't know what we was going to do as a family. But the power of invite. I got invited to a Michigan United event called Care Over Cost. And when I got invited, Audrey, who's one of the organizers, she called, she emailed, she texted, but she got me at that meeting. And I was so happy to be at that meeting because when I was at that meeting, I had a chance to ask a question. You know, I'm like, look, well, what was going on in my head is my mom is going through so much and I'm alone. I don't know who's going to help me with this. So I raised my hand. And when I raised my hand, I asked the question. I said, look, my mom cannot get her medication. She just had open heart surgery. We had talked to her doctor. We have emailed. We have talked. We did everything you could name. We did, but one thing we didn't do. It was a nurse on the call. She said, "Well, Miss O'Neill, let me tell you what you need to do." And I was like, "What I need to do?" She was like, "What you need to do." So she said, "Look on the back of your insurance card and call your insurance company and ask for an advocate." I was like, "An advocate?" She said, "Yes, just ask for an advocate." And I did exactly what she did, and it saved my mom's life. And it gave me the power to share not just her story, but also help people in my community to tell their story. So that the power of telling your story is so important, because just for me telling my story, it saved my mom's life, and she's here today. So thank you.
Ken, Rokesha's story is so inspiring. To think that her mom's life was on the line and she was getting told no, I'm so glad that we were able to help her fight back and turn that no into a yes. Now, let's hear from one of our Chicago One Northside members, Erin Hoffman. Erin, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Hoffman. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a PhD student studying clinical psychology in the wonderful city of Chicago. Last year, I had a routine primary care visit, and my doctor ordered a standard blood test. And a few months later, I got a whopping bill of $999 when my insurer Ambetter refused to pay. And this may not sound like a lot of money, but it is a lot of money for a student like me and for low-income people in general. And as we all know, medical bills add up quickly. Like so many people, I make just enough to where I don't qualify for Medicaid, but I also don't make enough to afford a non-predatory insurance company. My university also doesn't offer health insurance, so Ambetter was one of the cheapest options on the marketplace, and I went with them. That $999 bill was stressful as hell, and it was constantly on my mind. What's worse was Ambetter's response. I tried talking to them about this many times. When I did, I was hung up on a lot. I couldn't hear the employee over the phone or was told confusing or contradicting information. And this is in part how top insurers made billions in profit last year by nickel and diming you and me. So what did we do? Care Over Cost paid Ambetter a visit.
When I logged into my patient portal for Ambetter, I saw that I was hit with a massive and unexpected $999 bill for blood tests because it was coded as out of network. That ain't right! That ain't right! I had carefully double-checked before my appointment to make sure my provider was in network, but Ambetter denied my claim anyway. I called Ambetter over 10 times trying to get this resolved. I was left on hold for hours, hung up on, and I even filed a formal grievance, which is what Ambetter says you should do if there's an issue with your billing. But even after filing that grievance, Ambetter said my claim was correctly denied. I felt horrible and alone and frankly unsure how to advocate for myself. Then I connected with One Northside. At one of their teach-ins on fighting denied insurance claims. I felt incredibly relieved to work with One Northside, who recognized this as a serious systemic issue and supported me as one of their community members. Collectively, we blasted Ambetter on social media, made dozens of calls to Ambetter, and received over 1,600 petition signatures from members of the community demanding this bill be covered. People across the city and country heard my story and connected with it because this is how we are so often treated by the private health insurance system.
Wow. Erin got the runaround from Ambetter for months. They claimed that her test was out of network or not covered, even though she'd carefully double-checked all of this. So guess what? Care Over Cost got organized. We started a petition, but then we showed up to deliver all of these signatures, and Ambetter shut down their huge office building in the Loop in Chicago. They even called the cops and threatened to arrest a pregnant woman taking action with us, because they couldn't imagine talking to one of their policyholders, much less doing the bare minimum to help them. How far these companies will go to profit from people like Erin. And it's not just Erin. Centene, the parent company of Ambetter, is actually the target of a class action lawsuit in Illinois. These practices are how they made over $3 billion in profit last year. And this action really showed us how scared these corporations get when we push back. Because guess what? When Care Over Cost organized, Ambetter paid the bill. Does Aaron's situation sound familiar to you? Let's see it in the chat. Who has gotten care that they needed, that your doctor says you need, and then afterwards get a big bill from their private health insurance won't pay? Let's hear your stories in the chat.
Thanks, Aaron, and thanks, Eliana. That's amazing. Out of network, there's those ominous words again. To me, it just sounds like a sneaky and underhanded way to get out of paying the bill.
That's exactly right. These insurers make their contracts complex, too complex, with lots of ins and outs on purpose. These companies know that most people just don't have the time to figure it all out or contest these denials. So they bet on most people just giving up.
Well, that's where they're wrong. We see this scheme and we're committed to fighting back. Now, if you're like me, right about now you're wondering, how can I help? The most important thing you can do if a private insurance company is telling you no to the care you need is to tell us. Visit careovercost.org and share your story, or tweet us your story at #careovercost. But there's more. So we want to bring in another one of our members who needs our support right now. Andre Smith from Missouri Jobs for Justice in St. Louis, Missouri. Welcome, Andre.
Hi there. My name is Andre Smith. I use he, him, and they, them pronouns, and I'm from Ferguson, Missouri. I wanted to mention where I'm from because of the emergence of the Black Lives Matter movement after the murder of Michael Brown Jr. and the reinvigoration of the fight for civil rights of Black people. And I feel like healthcare access is an integral part of this fight. I'm currently dealing with a $15,000 bill from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City for an emergency room visit that should have been covered by my policy. In order for me to go to school at my campus, I had to have an insurance program of some kind, and I selected the one that my university recommended, which was Blue Cross Blue Shield. I ended up going to the emergency room because I was so sick that I couldn't get out of bed. I could barely get my head up to take liquids, couldn't eat anything solid, and lost a lot of weight. I couldn't sleep on my back or be flat because my body was functionally drowning itself. I had to sleep with my head hanging over the edge into the trash for some time, and this went on for 2 weeks before I decided to go to the hospital. I didn't go initially, of course, because I was worried about the cost, and as it turns out, I was right. Yeah, the doctors told me that my life was at risk from a peritonsillar abscess, in addition to 4 other diseases I was dealing with at the same time. I ended up leaving early because I was worried about the cost of an overnight stay, even though Blue Cross Blue Shield Kansas City was supposed to support 100% of my emergency services. My doctors declared this an emergency and my fluid treatments as medically necessary. They rushed my antibiotics, so I received treatments as I would have overnight in a speedier fashion. Even though I didn't stay the night, I still got slapped with a $15,000 bill from Blue Cross Blue Shield because they said that my visit wasn't an emergency. But again, my doctor said it was an emergency and said that my treatments were medically necessary, almost to the point of me needing surgery. This has been life-threatening for me. I live on my own dollar and I pay to support myself. And in this case, I'd have to choose between paying my bills or being sent to collections for severe medical debt. In addition to my health being on the line, this also impacts my financial stability and my future. Yeah, I just turned 20. I just turned 20 this past Saturday, and I'm a full-time college student in addition to my work as a community activist. So I'm having to juggle bills as my own student loan payments. And as we say in the activist community, the whole damn system is guilty as hell. And these systems are all responsible for keeping the impoverished impoverished. I can attest to this as an unwilling party because I have other bills. My private health insurance isn't fulfilling my bare minimum requirements, which are my health care, all in the name of corporate greed, and that ain't right.
That ain't right. Thank you for sharing your story, Andre. I truly can't believe that Blue Cross Blue Shield Kansas City is refusing your emergency treatment despite it being doctor's orders and covered in your policy. And they even charged you more because you didn't stay overnight. Make it make sense. I'm outraged on your behalf, and we are committed to fighting with you. So everyone, take a moment with me right now and follow the link on your screen and in the chat. ppls.ac/help-Andre. When you get there, you can sign our petition to tell Blue Cross Blue Shield Kansas City to pay for the care that Andre needed. Let's do it. All right, that was easy, wasn't it? It only takes a few seconds, and guess what? It works. That's part of how we helped Erin get her care. Now, we're gonna hear from another Missouri Jobs with Justice member who needs our help too, Mark from Springfield. Take it away, Mark.
Hi, my name is Mark, and I live in Springfield, Missouri with my wife, Callie. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was about 20. Essentially, my digestive tract gets inflamed, which causes sores and bleeding from top to bottom. After months of trying a wide variety of treatments, my doctors prescribed a drug called Remicade, which I received as an infusion every 8 weeks. Each dose costs thousands of dollars. Insurance pays for part of it, and then there's a government assistance program that helps covers what insurance doesn't. I'd been on Remicade for over 10 years, and I hadn't had symptoms. And at the results of my most recent colonoscopy, I was more or less in remission. Last summer, my employer provided insurance, Cigna, communicated that Remicade was no longer the preferred drug, and I'd be switched to a biosimilar called Inflectra. My doctor appealed this decision, but was denied, and I began the new drug regimen. After my first dose of Inflectra, I started experiencing symptoms within 4 weeks of receiving the infusion. When I am symptomatic, I have blood in my stool, diarrhea within an hour of eating, pain and cramping in my abdomen and the lower back because my internal organs are so inflamed. I have trouble sleeping and have issues with any sort of physical exertion. So my doctor agreed to increase the dose. This time I became symptomatic within 5 weeks instead of 4. For the past 15 months, I've been symptomatic for at least 1 week between doses, most recently the entire period. And I'm now receiving 10 times the amount of Inflectra that I was a year ago, which carries its own long-term effects.
Ultimately, this issue is affecting Mark here and now, and prevents us from being able to do the things that we want to do. I'm relatively new to this healthcare journey because he started taking this new medication a month before we got married. So this has been an issue for the entirety of our marriage, pretty much for our relationship. But we're also anticipating long-term effects. If ulcerative colitis is uncontrolled, the inflammation can spread and affect deeper layers of the colon, which can lead to kidney failure, a ruptured colon, and life-threatening infections. Being symptomatic also increases his risk for cancer and decreases his body's ability to deal with chemotherapy. It also decreases the likelihood that other medications will be able to keep his UC under control eventually. Mark has been paying into Cigna for a little over 3 years now through his employer and is being denied the medication he needs. We spend multiple hours on the phone with the hospital and the insurance company every week, which we shouldn't have to do just to get Mark access to the medication we know works best for him. And even with that investment of time and resources, we've still been getting the runaround from Cigna while we suffer the consequences. We wanted to share our story now because this is not how healthcare should work and not how people should be treated. Cigna made billions of dollars last year, partly because people don't know what their options are and how to appeal. Your doctor tells you that you need to do something, so you do it. The insurance company denies the claim. The bills stack up until you're sent to collections. We would be thousands of dollars in debt if we let that happen every time we get a bill. But this medication is essential to Mark's life.
In isolation and silence, but sharing our story has been empowering. Until finding out that we could fight back in this way, we resigned ourselves to my condition and Cigna taking advantage of us. But we can reclaim our agency by organizing together and fighting back.
That's right. Thank you so much, Mark and Callie, for sharing your story. Cigna took home $5.4 billion in profit last year alone. $5.4 billion. And yet they refuse to cover the only medication that keeps you well. And y'all already know what I'm going to say. That ain't right. Now, we're all pros at this already. You know what I'm going to ask you to do. Right now, visit ppls.ac/helpmark to get Mark the care that he needs. Let's go.
Thank you, Eliana. That was super simple and super quick. Now our next guest knows all about going the distance, putting people over profits. And that's the reason we're fighting against private health insurance corporations today. And that's to get Medicare for all tomorrow. Please join me in welcoming our very special guest, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Welcome,
Well,
Senator Sanders.
Thank you very much. And let me congratulate People's Action for focusing on one of the most important issues facing our people. So thank you, People's Action. And let me thank everyone who was tuning in. And let me especially thank Rakisha, Erin, Andre, and Mark for sharing their stories tonight. That's not an easy thing to do. But I think the stories that they told are the stories that millions of people are experiencing right now. So I thank them for doing that. All right, let me get to the point and tell you what I think most of you already know. And that is, you live in the only major country on earth that does not guarantee healthcare to all people as a human right. Where I am speaking to you right now is about 50 miles away from the Canadian border. And Canada is a country in many respects just like the United States. But if you end up in a hospital in Canada for 3 months dealing with a terrible disease, do you know how much, you know what kind of bill you have when you leave that hospital? Zero, not a nickel. Doesn't cost you a penny to walk into a doctor's office. And that, frankly, is what goes on more or less in every major country on earth. So not only do we have a healthcare system that is designed, as you have heard, to make the large insurance companies tens of billions of dollars in profit every year, designed to give the CEOs of these companies exorbitant compensation packages, designed to charge us twice as much per person as the people of any other country on earth. We're now spending over $12,000 per person. And you know what? At the end of all of that expenditure, we've got 85 million people who are uninsured or underinsured. Some 60,000 people shamefully, outrageously die every year because they don't get to a doctor on time. And then on top of that, I mean, this is so incredible. I mean, it's just hard to even believe. You have a situation where somebody becomes ill, they end up in the hospital, they run up a huge medical bill, and then they come out and they get hounded by the hospital to pay the bill, and they can't afford to pay the bill. And the result of all of that is that more than 500,000 Americans every single year are forced to declare bankruptcy, destroy their credit ratings. You know why? Because they had a serious illness. How insane is that? So not only do you have a healthcare system based on the greed of the insurance companies, but you have a pharmaceutical industry that charges us by far, not even close, the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. In some cases, we're paying 10 times more than people in Canada or in other countries for the same exact medicine. The result of all that is that 1 out of 4 patients cannot afford the prescription drugs their doctors prescribe. Think about that. Is that not insane? You go to the doctor, you're sick, doctor writes out a prescription, you can't afford to pay it. What happens? You end up in the emergency room. You end up later on in the hospital at great expense to the system, as well as great expense, as great personal on your part. We have a system today which is employer-based. That means, you got Medicare, you got Medicaid, you got Veterans Administration, but most people get their insurance on their job. Now, the problem with that is obvious, and we saw that during the early stages of the pandemic. People lost their jobs during the pandemic, and what happened? They lost their health care. What we believe, what I know you believe, is that healthcare is a human right, not something attached to your job. Because if it's attached to your job, you lose your health insurance. Furthermore, in the private sector, there are hundreds and hundreds of different health insurance plans. Some of them are very good, but many of them are terrible. They have high deductibles, high co-payments, and some of them are really nothing more that are plans that will deal with a catastrophic problem only if you get hit by a bus. Other than that, you're going to have to pay out of your own pocket. So what we need to understand is that a rational healthcare system is a system that guarantees healthcare to all as a human right. And it is a system that is cost effective, a system that is comprehensive, covering all healthcare needs, dental care, hearing, eyeglasses. It is not a system designed to make private health insurance companies huge profits. That's what we got now, and that is what we've got to change. And just to mention what I think you've already heard, in the first half of 2022, 6 months, the 7 largest health insurance companies made over $43 billion in profits, while spending over $12 billion on stock buybacks. So that is where we are right now. You have the system, which is wildly expensive. 85 million people uninsured or underinsured. People have health care, but their insurance is totally inadequate with high premiums, high deductibles, high co-payments. And the drug companies and the insurance companies make huge profits. So what do? What we do is stand up and fight back and understand that healthcare is a human right, not a privilege. And we go forward and continue the effort. And by the way, we have made some really great progress in the last number of years in pushing for a Medicare for all single payer system. What does that mean? It means that we expand Medicare over a period of several years to everybody, not just the elderly, that we cover all comprehensive healthcare needs, including dental, including mental health. It means that when you walk into the doctor's office, you don't have to take out your wallet or your credit card, because there is no out-of-pocket expense. It means that we fund this system through public funding, through a public funding system which is progressive. And that means that at the end of the day, as a nation, we will be able to guarantee healthcare to every man, woman, and child for less money than we are spending right now. It is totally crazy that we're spending over $12,000 for every man, woman, and child right now. That is, again, double what any other country is spending. So let me once again thank all of those who participated in tonight's very, very important event. Let me thank People's Action for sponsoring this event, and let us go forward and have the courage to take on these absolutely and outrageously greedy insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies, and finally do what should have been done many, many years ago and guarantee healthcare to every man, woman, and child in our country as a human right. Thank you all very much. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. We appreciate your leadership for working people and in the fight for Medicare for all. And you said it best. We fight back. So let's get into what this campaign is all about. We've heard from people who are suffering right now. So through our Care Over Cost organizing, we help people who are told no by their private insurance, and we help them do what Bernie said, and that's fight back. So how do we do this? 2 ways. Number one, we use their powers against them. These companies like to throw a waterfall of paperwork our way. First, there's a 300-page summary of benefits that says what they cover and what they won't. This is basically the contract between the company that insures you and the person through them. Then they send you an explanation of benefits. This is like when you get a bill from the doctor's visit. They tell you what the insurance company is going to pay and what you have to pay. But they don't do it in plain English or Spanish for that matter. They use a bunch of codes to make simple ideas confusing. So we match them at their game. We have a national appeals team of volunteer experts in contract and insurance law, folks who've had to fight these private health insurance companies for their own kids. We read those long documents and make sense of them. We catch the insurance companies breaking their own rules, file appeals, and write letters to regulators. And we bring these fights to the people. Because here's the thing. Private health insurance companies spend billions every year on advertising to get customers. So we embarrass them with their own actions in public. This is like the petitions you just signed for Andre and Mark in Missouri, or the protest for Aaron in Chicago. We make public the suffering these companies cause, and they hate it. We see time and time again that they're willing to pay up for their own misdeeds when we go public and organize. We're running this Care Over Cost campaign because we want to win for people now. But we know that when more people with private health insurance speak up about how it doesn't work when they're injured or when they're sick, we're exposing the scam of private health insurance that has us paying hundreds of thousands of dollars per month in premiums, only to find out it's not there when we really need it. We're calling BS on that lie. The lie that the private health insurance corporations are better than a public program and are building a bigger base of people who want to transform the system. Are you with me? Care Over Cost gets people justice now, while building towards a transformation we need, a system that covers all of us, that is publicly run with no profiteering. Now, let's welcome one more of our Care Over Cost champions, Robert Craig from Citizens Action, Wisconsin. He's going to tell us more about how we can put care over cost and get everyone the health care they need.
Thanks, Ken, and it's great to be with all of you. So you're here tonight perhaps because you have a claim to fight. Of course, if you don't, you will in the future. I can tell you personally, colon cancer runs in my family, and I've had 5 colonoscopies. Every single time I was charged thousands of dollars illegally, but since I work on healthcare, I could fight back, and I've not paid a dime. We want to make that possible for a lot more people. And so please, if you have not already, go to careovercost.org, and there'll be you can tell your story there. There's a form to fill out. And after you do that, if you have a claim, if you've had a claim denied, you'll be referred to an organizer, one of the great organizations, People's Action, or the organization I lead, Citizens Action Wisconsin, or another of the awesome People's Action member organizations across the country. And in many cases, we'll get the information, and if our national appeals team can help, then we'll refer you to them, and they can help intervene and try to get your claim paid, just like I've been able to get my claim paid. That's what happened with Terry, who was a member of our organization, Citizens Action Wisconsin. She was billed for a bogus copay for the removal of old hardware during hip surgery. They claimed it was outpatient surgery, though they would have had to, in the middle of the surgery, wheel her out of the hospital to make it outpatient. And so they wouldn't pay, and they gave her the runaround. And our national appeals team helped her challenge her claim. now, and to get the insurance company to pay what they owe. Now, let me just say, we know, as Senator Sanders says, we can help thousands of people. There are millions of claim denials, millions and millions of them. We need to change the system and create a Medicare for all system where there are no claims denials. But we have to build power to do that. And I want to turn it over to someone else who is going to explain what kind of power we can build beyond helping you get your claim paid. So in Aaron's case that you heard earlier, we didn't stop there. We went after the insurance companies, and Ken just mentioned that. And so now I'm going to pass it along to Jaime Izaguri from Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement to talk about what we do in those cases. Thank you, Jaime.
Hi, thanks, Robert. So excited. Robert said, we can overturn a denial with an appeal or a phone call, right? Sometimes. But we also sometimes have to put public pressure on these private insurance companies. And right now in Iowa, my home state, as well as Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, New Hampshire, Alabama, and Missouri, we have on-the-ground organizers that can help you mount a public campaign to call out the insurance company to put pressure on them to pay up. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not always going to be easy. These are powerful corporations. They make billions in profit every year by stopping people like you and me from getting the care that we need. They've gotten good at it. They're rich and they want to keep it that way. But I can tell you, it's always better to try and bite back. And we're winning. Am I right? So once more, go to careovercost.org right now. And when you get there, tell us your story. Or you can tweet it at us with the hashtag careovercost. If you or a loved one that you know has a claim denial, one of our organizers will be in touch to help you out with that. And while you're there, click on the Take Action button. And we can tell you all of the ways that you can help Care Over Costs right now. Every petition you heard about tonight is there, as well as national and local volunteer opportunities like the Canvas that we're planning in Iowa, right? So yeah, go ahead and sign up for that, and we'll go canvassing in Des Moines, Iowa. And then, of course, go ahead and bookmark this page as well, because we're going to keep on adding stuff.
Thank you so much, Robert and Jaime. I know that my organization, One Northside here in Chicago, has events listed on the website too. Can't wait to see y'all at them later this month. I want to take a moment to thank you all so much for coming tonight. I am so excited to see so many people turn out and help us fight and win the healthcare system that each one of us deserves.
Yes, thanks again, each and every one of you, for joining us tonight to learn how we can put care over cost and fight to get the health care you need when your insurance won't pay. Because we don't win unless we fight. And when we fight together. And remember, care over cost is a big part of what we in the People's Action family call the organizing revival. We want to build a multiracial democracy with strong communities, with room and opportunities for all, and tackle the big and real problems that are affecting us all, like health insurance and housing are a big part of that. What do? We fight back so no one gets left behind. So please, please, please go to careovercost.org and tell us your story, because we've got your back. So one more time, when private insurance says no to the care you need, what do? Come on, say it now with me. Fight back. Good night, everyone, and thank you.